people will ask me, hey, Sergey, what are you up to? And I would say I'm working on Bitcoin stuff. And they would say, the drug thing?
We all remember who screwed us over and who didn't let us cover our margin and who did.
Especially year after year after year.
Year after year,
Those
that's
2
right.
days add up.
Today's guest is Sergey Nazarov, co-founder of Chainlink, the decentralized Oracle network powering smart contracts across Web3. Since its launch, Chainlink has become the industry standard for connecting blockchains to real-world data, securing trillions in on-chain value. From price feeds to proof of reserve and cross-chain interoperability, Sergey's work underpins the infrastructure of decentralized finance. Sergey Nazarov, the visionary linking crypto to the real world.
When everyone thinks that you're a drug dealer because you work on Bitcoin.
Welcome back to The Roll Up.
This is your home to learn from the biggest guests, the brightest minds at the tip of innovation.
Our goal is to help spread the collective knowledge of everyone in our community.
We are breaking crypto out of its echo chamber and taking it to the real world.
Sit back, relax, and enjoy it. All right, guys, welcome back to SmartCon Day 2 here in New York City. We have the Chainlink CEO and founder, Sergey, with us. What an event, Day 2. What are some of your reflections from Day 1? We have JP Morgan, DTCC. We've got some of the largest financial institutions in the world here at this event. Sergey, how are you feeling about it all?
I mean, I'm feeling very positive. So Chainlink already powers the majority of DeFi globally. And on top chains like Ethereum, over 80% of all DeFi. So the Chainlink standard and the reliability that it provides has already kind of made DeFi grow significantly and made it a reliable resource for capital to flow into. Now, what I think we're doing here at this conference is we're continuing our work with the DeFi community. But to your point about JP Morgan and the DTCC and the UBS and a bunch of other of our top users, we're starting the process now of making Chainlink ubiquitous in the institutional world. And I think the thing people don't yet fully understand is that if there's a single standard powering the DeFi world and the institutional world, then it actually really benefits the DeFi world and our industry as a whole, because it makes the movement of capital from the institutional side into DeFi much more seamless and efficient and low cost and easy to do. So that's really kind of the third step in what Chainlink seeks to do. The first step is enabling DeFi and our industry to build advanced smart contracts. The second step is now institutional smart contracts. And the third step is the merging of those two worlds into a single efficient global financial system. So I think the fact that we have these, the largest really financial institutions and the most advanced ones from a blockchain point of view, working with us here at the conference, speaking about our work, talking about going to the next stage in our work, in many cases, some of them already on production. I think that's very, very positive.
Yeah, absolutely. You've already executed some incredible achievements along with both the DeFi world and the financial world. UBS executed a live tokenized fund transaction via Chainlink, and that's through your digital transfer agent. Can you describe what this digital transfer agent does for the world of finance off-chain and speak to the ubiquity that you mentioned, how this can bridge the gap between off-chain and on-chain?
Sure. So a transfer agent is something from the traditional financial world that effectively eliminates double spends in the traditional world. So if I want to give you equity ownership of some stock, someone needs to check that I have the equity, and then they'll give it to you. So I'll give it to them, they'll double check, and then they'll give it to you. So the transfer agent is responsible for these transfers, and they are essentially the way to stop double spends. They've been around for decades, and it's a part of the system that essentially blockchains kind of end up doing on their own because we can all tell what everyone has. But there's a lot of laws and requirements on the traditional side that mean that transfer agency has to exist and has to be part of transactions. So instead of just kind of waiting for the laws to change, what the Chainlink community has done is we've generated smart contracts that successfully replicate transfer agency for tokenized things. And then we've turned that into an open standard, the DTA, the Digital Transfer Agent standard. That standard is powered by CRE, the Chainlink Runtime Environment, and some of the NavLink, the data oracles that provide data into the transfer agent. And then UBS, which is the largest bank in Switzerland, one of the largest banks in the world, has a tokenization team that's now rapidly growing. They've been working with us for a number of years. And now we've gone to production with them using the digital transfer agent, because the digital transfer agent unblocked them from doing these transactions, because it solved this essentially legal problem, right? Of I need to do transfer agency. I need a transfer agent to do transfer agency in order for my fund tokenization transaction to happen. And they don't want to build that. There's really no one else building it in an open, reliable way that Chainlink has built it. And so we built it. We built it. We made it open. We gave it to them, and we're seeing a lot of adoption of it. But it's really just one of the many building blocks that Chainlink is providing to the institutional world. And then as UBS and others are on the digital transfer agency standard, and they're kind of utilizing Chainlink for these fund tokenization movements and operations, you really get to a place where you have a larger and larger group of institutional assets that can then flow into DeFi. And so on the other end, we're trying to work more and more with DeFi to get them ready to accept those assets, but once again, under the conditions of the institution. Because if they can't meet the conditions of the institution, identity conditions, anti-money laundering conditions, transfer agency conditions, they won't be able to accept the assets. They won't be able to participate in that universe of assets. So this is a step in that direction in favor of DeFi. It looks like a big institutional step, and it is a big institutional step. There's a lot of institutions that are going to use the transfer agent, I think. But it also builds kind of a universe of assets that'll be easy for the DeFi users of Chainlink to gain access to.
And I think it's really important to understand this institutional smart contract idea, right? Because I think a lot of us in the space who've been around understand what a smart contract is, but don't understand the necessary complexities required to actually make a smart contract that will work to kind of bridge this gap, right? It's not just some code on Ethereum mainnet as a smart contract. It's oracles, it's interoperability, it's compliance, it's privacy, it's security. And so I know that with CRE and with your confidential compute, you're really focused on kind of building this like stack, in full. You mentioned that the Central Bank of Brazil has been, you've just announced a collaboration with them. Perhaps you could speak on that in the lens of the understanding of the institutional smart contract. The wait is over. The Talus testnet is live. Be part of the revolution. Join now at testnet.talus.network. Asset management redefined. Built on ERC 7621. Standardize how you launch, manage, and trade on-chain baskets. This is Alvara, the standard for on-chain asset management.
Hibachi.
Provable. Trade perps with speed and security. Earn rewards. Visit hibachi.xyz. Trading on fire.
Sure. So smart contracts, I've been working on them since basically they came into any kind of existence, even before Ethereum. And initially, smart contracts were very simple. They were about essentially token ledgers or decentralized exchanges or voting contracts on a single chain. So you didn't need data, you didn't need bridging. Then you saw the appearance of DeFi and in the multi-chain world, which means you needed data oracles and bridging oracles, which Chainlink is leading provider of those types of oracles for different categories of transactions. And you end up in a world where, for me, the definition of a smart contract expanded to include all the code on all the different chains and the oracles. So that's what we define as a smart contract. It's not just the code on the first chain. It's the code on all the chains and all the oracle networks powering all that code. That's what a smart contract is. And so an institutional smart contract would be a multitude of those different contracts. For example, the transfer agency contract, as well as any nav link, the data oracle to give the valuation of the fund to the transfer agent. So it can strike the value of the fund and it can decide how many shares to give you for the money you send it. But then you'll also have a bunch of kind of cross-chain contracts to get the fund to other places. So now the bridging oracles and the contracts on the other chains are also representative of that contract. And then you have AML KYC identity oracles for compliance so that you can send the fund somewhere. So now the contract also has identity oracles. So when we say institutional smart contracts, what we really mean is really advanced and complex contracts composed of many different chains and their contracts, as well as the many different oracles that have to work with those contracts. With the Central Bank of Brazil and the Central Bank of Hong Kong, and Inter, the largest bank in Brazil, that was actually really interesting because it was a transaction between two jurisdictions, with two sets of laws, that used CCIP for their cross-chain, and the sending of two CBDCs, the e-Hong Kong dollar, and the Drex, the Brazilian real, from the Brazilian Central Bank. And then it also used CRE to synchronize with all kinds of other systems around things called electronic bills of lading and SWIFT messages. Because, the other thing that oracles do and are going to be responsible and are responsible for is the synchronization of all kinds of real-world systems back with the contracts. And so this transaction with the central banks was about trade flows. It was a transaction where soybeans from Brazil are being sold to Hong Kong, basically. And you had to do a lot of other things in a trade flow that had to do with bills of lading, accounting, all these things. And so the Chainlink runtime environment ran a workflow to do that in addition to the cross-chain. And so the institutional smart contract in that case is the contracts on the different chains of the central banks and the commercial bank. It's also the oracles providing the data and the identity and all the other information. And it's also the Chainlink runtime environment workflow that's synchronizing the bill of lading and all the other activities. So that's an institutional smart contract in the sense that it's doing institutional things, and it's very complex. It has a lot of different parts and a lot of different pieces on multiple chains.
It speaks to the reliability that you had mentioned earlier, that not only are DeFi systems relying on this technology, we announced Lido partnering with Chainlink, CCIP for wrap staked ETH. That was announced today. It's also the institutional partners in the financial world, in Wall Street, the largest names in finance and central banks that are also relying on this technology. Recently, a couple of weeks ago, AWS pretty much broke half the internet, but Chainlink continued to persist, continued to stay online and continue to facilitate transactions. What is it about Chainlink that makes it so robust and so resilient against some of the things that even AWS falls to? How does Chainlink stand up in the face of that?
So it's decentralized, and the system has a lot of backups. A lot of the other, I think almost all the other bridges went down from AWS for multiple hours. CCIP didn't go down. The data oracles didn't go down. A lot of other types of data oracles, or we know many people's internally built data oracles went down, which stopped their protocols, created issues, created mispricing, the inability to move around assets across chains because AWS went down, I think created a lot of issues for people because, and imagine if the AWS outage happens during a crypto market volatility event. You have to move things, but you can't move things because the bridging provider you use keeps saying the word decentralized or reliable, but then they're down for hours when it actually matters. And so what Chainlink is actually built for, and what our top priority is in the community and in how we think about building things, really is this reliability and security. And the way to think about it really when you build reliable systems is that you're not building the system for the 363 days of the year when everything is smooth. So almost anybody can build a system that does something when the world is smooth. When market prices are not highly volatile across all exchanges, right? Which is why Chainlink is considered the global price in DeFi and why it secures approximately 70% globally and over 80% on chains like Ethereum. It's not because of the 363 days when everything's okay. It's because the 2 days where everything turns upside down and the world goes crazy. That's really what Chainlink is built to try and approach in the best possible way with the most thoughtful approaches. And that's what really high-end protocols like Aave appreciate. So CCIP is the only cross-chain system of Aave. Now for Lido, it's the cross-chain system of Lido. Generally speaking, what we find is that as protocols start to hold more value and they start to be responsible for more people's money, their sensitivity to reliability and security goes up. So anybody can go build some centralized service, make a website, call it decentralized, mismanage the security of their keys and people don't notice because whatever, and it'll work 363 days out of the year. But once you secure tens of billions of dollars, like Aave, like Lido, like these financial institutions, you also think about the 2 days of the year.
Of course.
And from what I can tell right now, from what I know of the other systems, and the AWS situations, I think is clear proof of this, clear, immediate, relevant, kind of recent proof. I don't see another system right now that can deliver data, cross-chain connectivity, identity, and all of these kind of oracles at all, much less deliver them in a reliable way. And for example, a Chainlink right now is the only system of its type that's ISO and SOC compliant. So ISO and SOC are these global standards for reliability and security, where you have to take a lot of internal steps. You have to get an audit from an auditor like Deloitte or Ernst & Young, and they have to review how all the processes work in your system. They have to review, key management processes, security processes, data processes. Chainlink right now is the only system of its type that has that certification, which I can tell you to the institutions is useful. In fact, we actually surpassed that certification by quite a bit, is the actual reality of it. So I think people, and by the way, people don't fully value this, the 363 days.
No, right.
Because everybody kind of looks the same. Oh, this thing over here says it's decentralized on the website, and they were able to do an airdrop to juice their numbers, and so it looks like they have volume. What a success this thing is. Oh, and they mismanage their keys, and they day trade on their keys. Oh, that doesn't matter. Look at their volume. And it says decentralized on the website. But, the 2 days when it actually matters, as long as Chainlink is the thing that works, I think we're doing the right thing instead of doing whatever the hell else some of these people are doing.
Especially year after year after year.
Year after year,
Those
that's
2
right.
days add up.
Well, those 2 days are actually, in my opinion, how you get to that 70-80% market share.
Blockchain shortcuts, templates, and widgets launch without friction for builders by builders. Visit enso.build. Relay, low fees, lightning speed, and the power of multi-chain at your fingertips. Instant multi-chain payments. Choose any token on any chain. 75 plus networks supported. More than 5 million users. 8 billion plus volume processed. 70 million plus transactions. Fast, reliable, everywhere. Start swapping today. Only on Relay. Yeah, they are the defining moments of the industry.
Yeah, that's right.
And we all remember who screwed us over and who didn't let us cover our margin and who did. And institutions remember that, funds remember that, liquid funds remember that. So, Sergey, we just have a couple minutes left. We had Zach on yesterday and we asked him kind of like, what do you think we should ask Sergey? And he said, you guys ought to ask Sergey why personally he still loves coming in and working on Chainlink day in and day out. It's been a 10-year run now. It's been from the inception of smart contracts. It feels like we're at that point in the industry where it's all becoming, look around. It's happening. What is it that still gets you out of bed in the morning? What are you so personally excited about with Chainlink right now?
So I think it's an amazing opportunity. Basically, there's not going to be many chances for anyone, and I feel very lucky in this sense, to work on something that can define how the world works. Right. And Chainlink really is a set of standards for how transactions work. So how data works on all the chains, how cross-chain works on all the chains in a reliable way, how identity works on all the chains, how synchronization between chains and existing systems works. And to me, being the person who is involved with another smart group of other smart people, a large group of smart people that can create that type of standard, the way Linux is a standard, or HTTPS is a standard, or TCP/IP is a standard, I don't think that comes along more than once in someone's life, and even if it comes along once, it's extremely, extremely good fortune in my opinion, if you can be involved in building something like that. And so I'm very lucky to be involved in building something that right now is on the trajectory to be something, to be a standard, right? To be a truly global standard. It is already the global standard in DeFi for data and for other key operations. Now the challenge is, as our industry goes from being a niche industry to powering global finance, can we take the Chainlink standard and take it beyond DeFi to be the institutional standard? And then when DeFi and the institutional world merge into one financial system, can that happen over the Chainlink standard, right? So that's kind of the challenge that we're now trying to do. We're trying to continue to grow, continue to make DeFi succeed, make sure that folks like Lido have secure bridges, make sure Aave and others have reliable data, make sure they have all the key building blocks they need to build the next iteration of what they want to build, provide all the building blocks that institutions need, and then the really simple theory is that if we can do these two really hard things of powering DeFi and powering institutional smart contracts, then the third step of getting them to interoperate with each other should be actually natural and organic, right? And we are already seeing some of that because some of the users we have on the institutional side and the many users we have on the DeFi side are already finding it pretty easy to interoperate with each other.
Which is amazing.
Yeah,
I mean, you're doing it for all of us here. I mean, there's obviously it's a winner takes most market here for oracles, for data, for smart contracts. But I mean, if you guys keep winning, our entire space wins.
I think so, yes.
And I think that is the message that you've gotten across very well.
Yeah, so I'm also a huge fan of our space. That's another right. reason.
We know.
I've been in this industry for over approximately 15 years now, and I got to tell you, if you can believe in this industry, when everyone thinks that you're a drug dealer because you work on Bitcoin, like when I started, blockchain as an industry didn't exist. It was only Bitcoin, and when you would tell Bitcoin to people, the only associated news story was Silk Road. So when people would ask me, "Hey, Sergey, what are you up to?" And I would say, "I'm working on Bitcoin stuff," and they would say, "The drug thing?"
Right.
So if you can work on something when that's what people think you're doing, you can definitely work on it when all the world's largest financial institutions want to work with you.
Are in the room with us.
So conviction grows stronger. Sergey Nazarov, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Sergey.
My
Absolute pleasure.
pleasure.
The Chainlink standard is becoming ubiquitous. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thanks for being at the conference, and thanks for having me. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Fantastic.
Love to have you again soon. Yeah.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Cheers. See you again soon. Great conference, SmartCon.